Okay, welcome to
Very
our
nice.
dreams. 'Tis I, Nate of the Freight, in my magical dreamland. Is this for real? We continue this theme of what is real and what is mystery.
Very nice addition with the feather.
Thank you. Lots of illusions. As you can see, I'm kind of addicted to silly filters, and we spend so much time on these things and cameras. We should be able to express ourselves and have different environments, and also to mask our messy backgrounds. We managed to have one of these perfect picture-ready offices, mainly because of family life and busyness, and and I actually do work here. I don't just it's not a set. So, but
yeah.
Jack, I've always enjoyed this background with the art, gallery display.
Yeah, thanks. It's actually kind of fun because some of them, hold on. So this one, and then the one above it, and the one right here. Those are actually my paintings, as well as the one with the circles over here. So it's kind of fun because I appreciate that people enjoy it, because I'm like, oh, these are my mathematically inspired paintings that I have done. So this is actually based off of conic sections, and this is based off of trigonometric ratios. So I'm yeah. And
we're already learning more about you, and yeah. So I'm Nathan Freitas with Guardian Project. This is Jack Fox Keene, also with Guardian Project, and we're here to talk today about Jack's recent blog posts and writing and thinking on our proof mode project. So if you don't already know, proofmode.org will give you a lot of information about the work we're doing with using your smartphone, turning photos and videos and audio, actually, and other content into signed, secure, verifiable evidence and data and truth in a way. But I think what is truth and what is real or not is something that that Jack's been exploring. And so I don't know where we can or should begin. We have your most recent post, and we have your previous post, and even some other ones. And actually, I wanted to ask about the artwork you've been using, because I know it maybe comes from a specific artist that you know or like, or
yeah, so it was actually I forget the original account I saw this on, but I follow lots of activism accounts on Instagram, and then I was working on this blog post, and then I saw this picture, and so I kind of will go back just a little bit, but you can hold the image there because I feel like it captures like everything that I was thinking about at the time. But basically, I was studying my Spanish again, trying to level up in my Spanish skills, and then I came across a conjugation as I was watching a documentary on Netflix about immigrants in the United States, and it was a conjugation that I wasn't familiar with called the subjunctive mode or subjunctive mood. And then as I was reading about it, and I realized that we don't have this conjugation in English. We don't change our verbs when we're talking about like the most simple one is we say have a good day, and in Spanish you would say que tengo un buen día. So in this case, when we say que tengo un buen día, we're saying that you have a good day. And what it is kind of a shortened version of saying I wish that you have a good day, and that's why we're using tenga, because we're saying I wish that you have a good day. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I hope that it happens. And then I realized there's this whole world of verb conjugations in different languages, except for English, and some languages have it, some languages don't, that are all about things that you hope for, things that you wish for, and things that you dream for. And then I started thinking about this. I was thinking about activism and how activists live in this world all the time. And I think about this especially as a prison abolitionist, where we live in this world where there's never been a society without prisons. And for a very long time, there had never been a society without slavery. And so as a slavery abolitionist, you were living in this world of how can we possibly, people can't imagine a world without slavery. And we're pushing for this world, and everyone's saying, but what are we going to do without this system that we have, we view as integral to our system? And then our slavery abolitionists had to say, like, we just have to dream of a better world. We have to build a better world. And so it's the same thing that's happening with prison abolition. And I actually really love this because you can't tell, but it matches my outfit because I have a whole theme of yellow and blue going on today. So this is by Mariame Kaba called We Do This Till We Free Us. And a lot of it, I mean, even like the cover, you can kind of see is like a very dreamy cover of just like, kind of like, and I just feel like the fact that it's at night, when we're sleeping, it's a moon setting, is just very impactful about like how this happens. And actually, Ruth Wilson Gilmore is writing a book right now called Change Everything. So it's coming out in September, but basically like the whole idea is that in order to abolish prisons, we have to change everything about how we view punishment, how we view labor, how we view governance, how we view all these things. But yeah, so it's a lot of like dreaming and imagining worlds that haven't existed. And then, sorry, go on. No, I was just, go on.
Wrap it up. Wrap up that thought, and then I have a
question. Okay, sorry. So as I was kind of thinking about all these things, if you want to scroll up to the picture, I came across this on a activism Instagram, and then it linked back to this artist Jasmine Ko. And then and Jasmine Ko is a activist with a focus on ecological activism and climate justice. And I started, if you want to check out their page, it's really beautiful, and they have all of these things that are kind of embodying like nature and geometry, which is a lot of my favorite art, is trying to find these overlaps between the geometric and the abstract, and then the natural and the less geometric. But yeah, so what were you going to say?
Well, I put the link jasminecoart.com there on the bottom. So
yeah, it's very, very beautiful.
I think the interesting part connecting this to the work in proof mode is, you talk about this in the Of Moods and Means blog post, is that we have to sort of dream and build, have these dreams and then be active to reach those dreams, and that a lot of what we're doing is related to using data for justice, not just for sort of persecution and prosecution, but using data as a tool for all and data in this case being things like this chain of custody, sensor metadata, other visual information, and ensuring that those tools are used kind of in the way that we would like. And so I think you've touched on that here in this first part, kind of our role as activists and technologists. There's a second part to this post where you get into this idea around anthropological study, context, and consent. So what is it that you were wanting to reach there in this post?
Yeah, so I think that kind of understanding these underlying threads that kind of connect us, I think is a way of understanding culture and a way of understanding ourselves. And so actually the quote for the second blog is taken from this other book called The Poetics of Resistance, um, the revolutionary art of public relations of the Zapatistas. And it had a very interesting quote about history. Um, and it says, perhaps myths are history, but history that explicitly includes visions, dreams, interpretations, and other apparently subjective ways of reading the world. And I really like that idea that, like, when we're thinking about, and thinking about like archiving history, like it's not just important to archive the very specific events, but it's also important to archive the inspiration of those events, because I think we can learn more from the contextual inspiration versus just the event itself. So again, like going back to thinking about, abolition of slavery, and thinking about the, abolition of prisons. It's not just the dates of when proclamations are made, but it's about like what inspired somebody to make these changes, and how that can be kind of, generationally trickle down for, inspiring new changes. But so I think that there's an important part of like documenting inspiration and what is the real catalyst of change versus just documenting the change itself. Because when you just document the change itself, you lose the energy that actually went into that change. And so this is kind of also, going into, as we're thinking about our proof mode baseline. Do you mind if I kind of just touch in on like proof mode baseline?
Sure.
Yeah, so proof mode baseline is an idea that Nathan actually developed, thinking about like, how do we start documenting the world as it is. And then so when I was reading about the Zapatistas, so much of what the Zapatistas do is they make art, and thinking about like art as being part of the world that it is. And so the original idea of proof mode baseline is to capture if you Nathan, do you want to kind of explain what you're thinking about with proof mode baseline, and I'll kind of explain what I'm.
You said it well. Capture the world as it is. Capture places before they're destroyed. Capture, important locations before they are the site of a conflict, so that you can kind of understand the way the world as it is and have that recorded for many uses going forward.
Yeah, and then so I kind of like have been thinking about evolving that into capturing culture as it is and capturing dreams as they are. And so when I think about these anthropological studies is kind of a way of understanding these patterns. You studied math, so patterns are really important to me. And kind of thinking about finding these patterns of inspiration, and but also thinking about how to find patterns of inspiration in a way that is consensual. So a lot of what the second blog post of Dreams and Deeds is about is thinking about the fact that, as an activist, some activists want to stay anonymous for protective reasons, which is completely understandable. And then there are other activists who have a public platform. For example, these authors that I'm referring to, Marianne Kaba and Mark Lamont Hill, other activists who have a public platform and who want to utilize that public platform to tell the story and add context to a story in a way that they have a privilege of doing so. And so part of this was thinking about this optional journal entry feature, where when you take a picture of an event or of a piece of art or whatever it is that you're taking a picture of and documenting and archiving, there's a way of adding context to that documentation and that archiving process. And by adding context, you're adding meaning, and then you're telling a story. And there's just and then kind of as we think about this, we think about we do think about the threat modeling of like, how do we make sure that people would understand what they're, understand what they're excited about sharing, and what are the risks of associating with that. And that's kind of something that we're going to be exploring in future blog posts. But yeah, there's just kind of this general idea of like I said, understanding patterns of inspiration, and then being able to build on those patterns of inspiration to continue making transformative change and transformative justice in the world.
So the second post, I kept jumping back and forth a bit, but
yeah, sorry.
This idea of mood, of context, of all of the layers of information around a photo or a picture. I mean, of course, people have said a picture paints 1,000 words. Is that what they say? Something like that. But we know, in fact, that and just looking at visual pixels, something can be interpreted or misinterpreted or misused in so many different ways. And so one idea of our work with Proof Mode is the quantitative, the sensors, the signing, the metadata, but the other is the qualitative, the context, the consent, the intent. Why did you capture and share this, and what is the point? So you will be later this month at DWeb Camp in the beautiful Redwoods of Northern California, and we'll be there to talk about these dreams and deeds and moods and means more, as well as get hands-on with our scavenger hunt game. And kind of, I think really the camp will be a great place to explore the spectrum of of the contextual versus the the quantified layer, and excited to have you there. I mean, your background, as you touched on it a little bit, but we opened with you sharing about some of your paintings. You've talked about being a prison abolitionist. You're writing these sort of philosophical, technical posts, but you're also doing, hacking on Python and doing data analysis. So just share a little bit more about yourself briefly, as we're running out of time today. But, what brings you here with us, and what are your hopes for your own path and kind of charting a course with your skills and interests?
Yeah, so it was actually kind of funny. What brought me to Guardian Project is I was literally looking up ethical tech jobs, and then I found this article that was talking about, it had like top 10 ethical tech jobs, and like it was from a few years ago, but Guardian Project was on there. And then I started looking into what they did, and then I was so excited that there was kind of this crossover between like tech work and activism, and just doing something that is not only not actively contributing to evil, but also actively working to fight it. So that was kind of what brought me to the Guardian Project. My background was in computational science and biomathematics, and I had originally gotten into biomathematics as a way of trying to study mathematics and biology, study mathematics in a way that was helping people, because there's a lot of math that is sort of removed from society. And then biomathematics is like very embedded into people. And then kind of I worked at a machine learning company for a while, and I worked at a research computing center at FSU for a while. So I was kind of doing these things, but I was always trying to like gear it towards helping people. And Guardian Project was one of the ways that I felt like I could do that. And yeah, I have been working on, I do a lot with data analytics. I'm constantly trying to work towards always leveling up. So I just got this wonderful book in the mail today that I'm excited about. So looking forward to exciting things with our levels of analysis that we're doing at Guardian Project. But yeah, and then a lot of it is kind of thinking about, I feel like there's a lot of dualities in everything. And so again, like kind of this streaming and this action, and then with data, there's this tension between accuracy and privacy. And so the more accurate your data is, the more vulnerable that community is that is providing that data. And, it kind of, again, becomes between protection and then surveillance. And again, if I have a Fitbit, and, kind of thinking about all the ways that data are collected, but then how do you protect the people with the data that you're collecting? And do you mind if I just actually touch back on, there was like one more quote that I wanted to read
Yes.
that I thought that kind of really captures this concept of like the journal entries, and using one of the things I kind of talk about that I've been reading this book by Mark Lamont Hill called Seen and Unseen: Technology, Social Media, and the Fight for Racial Justice. And it touches on a lot about, this pivotal moment that happened with Black Lives Matter and the murder of George Floyd. And it says, it matters not who they are really, George Floyd and Derek Chauvin, only that they're symbolic of a larger whole. And it's the symbolism that is crucial to the reaction that the scene provokes. For one cannot read this arresting image, moving or still, without concluding that the death of George Floyd is neither surprising nor unusual. Its power is in its very ordinariness. It's a rendering to the whole sorry relationship between Black and white America, and even more to the whole perverse relationship between the powerful and the powerless throughout the world. And so I think that there's something about that, of like the fact that these, unfortunately, like horrifically, these murders of Black people by militant forces and police and people of color around the world by militant forces is not the exception, it's the norm. And kind of thinking about documenting what is ordinary, to document just the power imbalances that exist of, like he was saying, the perverse relationship between the powerful and the powerless throughout the world. And so what's really interesting is that Mark Lamont Hill writes about how we've entered an era of society, an era of history, where it's not just the victors that are documenting history and writing history as it's been for so long. Now the victims have, with smartphones and the availability of new technology, have a way of also documenting history and adding to what is preserved. And then that also gets into the really exciting parts about decentralized web and archiving, because while everyone has a smartphone, if an image is uploaded to a single server, that single server is very vulnerable. And then you lose the power that smartphones have given to the ordinary person. And then so the decentralized web provides an alternative where the ordinary person is pinning, to a server, and with 1,000 pins, there's 1,000 servers that somebody needs to take down in order to take down this image. So it just kind of all, for me, just kind of flows together. I'll be writing future blog posts about that, kind of about like
we'll talk more on this.
Yeah.
But thank you for that last piece. And I think much of this work we do comes out of our partnership with Witness, the human rights media organization that whose work really began around the videotaping of the Rodney King beating by untold amount of police officers, and the impact that having a visual image captured had in that case, and the complex impact, and it continues to be complex, and we need to keep our interrogation of this work fresh at all times, because it's by far from being kind of solved or fully understood. And we really appreciate your unique perspective and analysis and insight on our blog and with our work. So thanks for joining me today. And thanks everyone for joining. We're going to have our, sorry, I'm still learning how to stream here. Our theme music as we sign out. So everyone make sure to go to proofmode.org, and you can see our, mostly Jack's writings. There's also more about the project, about the code we're working on. Go to DWeb Camp. Come to Proof Mode on matrix.org to chat with us, and we're actively working away on this. So more in the future. Thanks again, Jack.
Thank you so much. Yes. All right. Bye.